matchup. Jin Air GreenWings. DragonX. BBQ Olivers. MVP. Beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2018. It is the final match day here at OGN before we head to Lunar New Year. Papa Smithy, you looking forward to it? We get another Kingzone DragonX masterclass of League of Legends.
I absolutely am, and the whole match day is interesting to me. Second matchup, not a hype one on paper.
Not necessarily.
MVP versus BBQ, but MVP looked pretty decent last time out. May have rolled over and lost 2-0. That's something about them. BBQ, just seeing what lineup they run. Will we see the return of Trick in our second series?
Yeah.
A lot of questions, but for the first series, it's all about streaks. 12-0 for Kingzone, looking to make it 14-0, and after Jin Air lost to BBQ.
Yeah, things are a little bit rough on the Jin Air side of things. There was definitely some good news stories, though, if we start on that first series. I mean, the Camille performance coming out from UmTi was actually fantastic. Probably one of the better jungle Camille's that we've seen thus far, when, honestly, jungle Camille has only been working out for a couple of our
up
players.
And down.
Yeah, most certainly has. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jin Air are able to actually bring out, because we've got now the shortest average game time versus the absolute longest. So what are we even going to get? Is it going to be just a slaughter again? I don't know.
What does it mean?
Well, you see, I'm not entirely sure, Papa Smithy. I feel like it might mean that Jin Air's average game time is going to go down.
It's very possible. Unfortunately, they may have the MVP-like effect of, if you lose 2-0, your game time usually goes down, and Kingzone haven't been in any way cooperating when it comes to giving people games. Again, a 12-0 streak is insane. The longest we've ever had is 17, so they're aspiring for greatness. They also may be the only team ever to speedrun a round robin and only ever play 2-game sets. They've never gone to 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like if Jin Air's going to win this first game, and it's just going to be Kingzone saying, well, I guess this is going to be a 0-2 loss because we want to make sure that we get out of here with the least amount of games possible, but I just don't see that happening. They're looking so dominant there at the very top of the table. You can see a FLICKR Freaks, though, just behind them. Team that has looked fantastic. Not going to see them today, but we will see them in the Gangnam Stadium a little bit later on. Oh, man. Jin Air GreenWings. It's going to be a rough road. It's going to be a very rough road.
They definitely need to do everything to try and hold out. Kingzone are kind of the first place elect, the MSI representatives in a lot of people's minds already, even though we still have 11 best of 3s for both these teams to play before we even hit those playoffs. But there's a reason people have high expectations when it comes to Jin Air. It's been a good start to the year, but it's good enough to actually challenge Kingzone DragonX.
Yeah, it's been very up and down. So losing to KT Rolster was just before their loss to the Rocks Tigers. It is, of course, going to be the same lineup. Grace back in that mid lane yet again, who has been stepping up his performance. It was sort of a little bit of a toss-up between Grace and Justice, but going to be sticking there. And Teddy's a man that we've really got to talk about because he has the best stats on his whole team as far as, like, everything. KDA, kill participation, gold percentage, damage percentage. They live and die for Teddy.
Which is a good and a bad thing, because it's not always a good thing to take all the gold or do all the damage or have highest kill participation. It means the team, after UmTi's early aggression kind of abates when we get to mid to late game, is all about Teddy, and that's something that can be exploited by other teams that also have great AD carries. The team they're facing today, Kingzone DragonX, has one of the best of all time. So if you know the enemy is going to play around their AD carry, why not put some attention elsewhere? Because that means the gold won't be there, the items won't be there, and this team knows how to fight anywhere across the map.
It is absolutely ridiculous. After the schooling that they gave to KT Rolster and what we were expecting to be a hype matchup, I was expecting a 2-1 at least in one of the directions. Just wasn't the case. The shellacking of Game 1 was absolutely flawless from Kingzone, and it's not about any one player anymore. It's not about Khan popping off. He certainly has had weeks where that has happened, but honestly it felt like Peanut's been the massive improver in this team when they didn't even necessarily need to improve, Papa Smithy.
Yeah, Peanut and BDD coming together is like the last chain in the fence, the last thing to actually give them everything they're looking for. They looked much better in the last series. Peanut's MVP on the ZAC was a big thing to talk about.
Outstanding, yeah.
And I take your point, Atlas. Getting hard to hype teams against Kingzone because they've just been so incredibly dominant. Ever since the 2-0 loss when they were playing Rascal, when they were still getting things together, they have gone perfect, 12-0 in a row, looking to go 14, looking to crash that 2015 record and hit the big 17. And it's looking like any opposition is just not up to the par of Kingzone DragonX.
Especially not when Kingzone DragonX are just looking better and better each series as well. It's really, really hard when you're at the top like this. And look, that graph is only getting more ludicrous.
They keep eating everyone else's graphs.
Oh, God. It does really feel like a Little Big Planet moment, doesn't it? It's really been rolling a lot.
If we know one thing about our KDA graphs, bigger is better. And they're so damn big, Atlas. We're going to run out of just screen space. It's going to be misleading. Khan is off the charts. Prey also.
Just insane. How does everyone have a KDA above 7? It's so stupid.
Why doesn't Kingzone get their own Pentagon?
I don't know. They get enough pentakills, though. I mean, I felt like one of them was denied by
But
Khan
look at this stat,
earlier.
Atlas.
This stat doesn't make any sense at all, Papa Smithy. Last year, the Jin Air GreenWings were at least able to take a game every single time and actually beat them out. Half the time as well.
Now, it was a weird series. That first round-robin match, I believe, was the one where Rascal played when Khan was sick in Game 2. It was, of course, before they got everything together. By the time I hit the second round-robin, credit to Jin Air, taking 1-0 off what eventually became our first-ranked team. Now, we're looking at some stats here. We're looking at Dragons and Barons between the two teams. Kingzone kind of get everything, so it's not surprising to see they're up there. But look at this number. 0.9 Dragons yielded a game. You're lucky to get one against Kingzone. They've given up one Baron ever.
And it seems like Jin Air GreenWings give up 1.5 Barons every game, at least. That's not a good stat. That does not feel like a good stat.
And Kingzone don't have a massive Baron buff power play gold earned because the game, they've already been so far ahead before they get the Baron that there isn't 8 turrets to pick up on the map.
Yeah, the game tends to end while they take the Baron.
So that's a stat that wouldn't look so good for Kingzone, but will be misleading, and sometimes you need misleading stats to make a match hype. So guys, maybe they can do it here, Jin Air GreenWings. Maybe they can win. Even a single game would be something for them. You already mentioned it's all about Teddy, but Prey's having some fun as well. And
oh, hell yeah, he is.
some of those Ezreal nerfs came through. Wouldn't have noticed it from how good Prey was. 7-0, 9 KDA. Both these players perfect on the Kalista. You know what? I'd love to see some perfect Kalista during this set.
That would be absolutely amazing. Teddy, of course, really tough shoes to fill, because if you guys have been watching Kingzone play, I feel like most team fights, I'm just in awe with how Prey is able to avoid almost all CC ever. It's just insane.
I'm loving that there's still 12.1 CS per minute going on for Teddy. He will definitely finish this season close to perfect CS because of being inflated with 3 waves pushing in during the famous series against SK Telecom T1. And SKT have already had a 70-minute, which by the transitive properties of Jin Air means we might be going long. That would already be insane given they're facing Kingzone DragonX. But I have a feeling the Kingzone fans are going to be loudest.
Well, yeah, they certainly are. And that's 4.1k versus the 400. That feels pretty sad if you're a Jin Air fan, but this does mean not a lot of pressure is on our kids in the students' outfits.
I like how we have kind of skyscrapers for scale with the small box that is the 10% there. They're only just above the skyscrapers, so that's probably
it was more
bad.
like it was a prop for the weird box that it was holding up rather than anything else.
We should have Teemos, because of course the unit of measurement in League of Legends is the Teemo.
Yes, that's true, that's true. I don't know why we're not just stacking Teemos on top of each other. Wait, it'd be like a Teemo's leg for Jin Air.
I mean, Kingzone DragonX are stacking bodies one up by one.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see how they can do here. Jin Air GreenWings. See if they can get it together. The loss against Rox Tigers early this week kind of raised a couple of eyebrows. It's only their second game in about 9 days here, so they haven't played as much towards the end of this first round robin. How do you find a victory against Kingzone DragonX? So far, 6 teams have been unable to do so in a row. let's see if Jin Air can change things up.
Yeah, and Jin Air against Rox just looked like they weren't competitive, even in the game that they won. I mean, it was a 2-1 victory for the Rox Tigers, but that was a comeback victory for Jin Air, getting some good team fights in there. It wasn't a solid macro performance in any way in any 3 of those games.
And then if you kind of follow that logic and say, surrender the early game against Kingzone and come back, no, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to find a way to maybe allow UmTi to do some battle warding, get in the face of Peanut. He loves his aggression.
That Kalista that you're looking for, though, Papa, immediately going to be banned away here by Kingzone. They don't want to see it.
And they're not willing to first pick the Kazakhs. And they know that Kingzone might consider second round it, given that it's an UmTi stable. We're going to see it banned away on blue side.
I actually really like the Taric ban here as well from Kingzone, making sure that Jin Air aren't going to be able to build some of these team fight compositions.
Zoe and Ryze are the champions I'm most interested to see if they're on the ban list or willing to be first picked. Kingzone loved to play Ryze, but we saw BDD's Zoe for the first time recently, and now Ryze versus Zoe is the sort of matchup that might be implied.
I feel like Zoe would be a good idea.
Jin Air would love to first pick Gnar, but because you have the Zoe there, it's very hard to know what to do. So they're going to take away Zoe. It could be Gnar Ryze in the first round. Of course, there is Khan, who could just Riven into a Gnar, so who's to say? And the Comfort Ezreal will be considered.
With the Kalista being banned away as well means that he's pretty happy about the matchup. No more Vaynes to really worry about after the nerfs.
And
it's an easy Ryze pickup for the second round. Kingzone feeling extremely happy. But that Gnar that you talk about, still going to be available.
The Ryze is a flex pick because we have been seeing Keen from a Freak of Freaks loving the top lane Ryze. Basically blinding it in most scenarios, but very heavily expected to be BDD's Ryze. Already played 5 games of it this season, 4-1. 1 loss in that KSV series, which now feels like an eternity ago.
Has a decent time against the Zoe as well, isn't feeling too bad. And Jin Air aren't going to get that Ezreal-Zoe really tricky combination for these team fights, which is going to be good news. Bad news for Kingzone fans is that Grace has an 18.0 KDA on this champion.
It's pretty good.
Over 2 games.
Numbers against teams other than Kingzone tend to be a little bit irrelevant here when they're actually facing Kingzone DragonX. A very high reach for Tahm Kench, who frequently has been going through picks and bans, hasn't been a permaban this week, so a little bit surprising to see them reach this high, obviously respecting the chance of a pick comp, or maybe even setting up a pick comp of their own. They have Zoe already, Jarvan can be involved in pick, and we saw some really innovative stuff with Edge on Kongdu Monster, if you remember that game earlier this week, being launched into the backline on the Malzahar by the Tahm Kench, so we're seeing cool things.
I actually really like Tahm Kench in Zoe compositions, though, because she does lend herself so well to that tricky poke style, so having the Devour for your team does feel very, very good. Peanut, though, is going to be able to grab that Jax priority into the Jarvan. We've seen this matchup quite a few times, and especially early on, Jax does seem to be able to get the run of it.
But interestingly, first competitive game for Peanut on the Jungle Jax.
Hey, true.
Rolling the dice here. It's been Cinderhawk into Trinity Force almost exclusively. Wasn't 100% for its first 4 or 5 games, but now that Jack's becoming a bit more of a common pick, 70% odd win rate here. So Kingzone banning towards Teddy, keeping him away from the Ultra Comfort. When it comes to his playlist, Kalista we know is taken away, no Ezreal. Caitlyn has been the big one there. Xayah, but they can't go for Xayah Rakan, so the Xayah priority
falls a bit lower.
Without the Rakan is a little bit lower here in the league. And the Sivir ban as well, so kind of corralling him into Caitlyn and also relieving us of the threat of the
Exactly, they've
dream.
actually banned like both of the super high wave clear champions.
Hey, Caitlyn,
we're feeling good.
Caitlyn can do it too.
Oh god, Kingzone get another ban.
I feel like Kingzone might consider going crazy with the Riven, and SoHwan, of course, is the Riven god.
True.
Where's
of
the
previous
Jace years.
Come on, Jin, you can find the Jace. There it is. There's the Jace button. It took him a full 25 seconds.
I mean, it took him a second round robin as well, so it's not actually going to be the first round of bans towards the Jace, and no reach there by Kingzone. We know that the Jace is always around the corner when Khan is in the game.
Also know that they do like waiting until the second round before they lock that one in, understanding what the matchups are, but Gnar given a lot of priority here for Khan. Will only be his second outing on the champion if they do lock that one away, and it looks like it will be the choice. So the Ryze Gnar combination really, really high in priority.
SoHwan has been practicing the Riven in solo queue. Will he go to his Ultra Comfort? If Kog'Maw is locked in, you'd think no, because it would be a bit of a strange non sequitur. So we're following the picks here
A lot of options for Teddy, of course, but the Caitlyn that you're talking about is the one that's going to be opted in for. Thank you very much for letting us all know that there is still a chance for the hyper late game wave clear.
And there's still a chance we just go for Ornn. It's been a mega pick for SoHwan so far this season. Would be reliable engage for what is already a Pokemon. Could just ult under a turret and have Caitlyn and Zoe rain down Terra and just try to take down objectives. So would be working in for a siege situation. It's decent in lane, and because of this, we do not see any Riven. Sad days.
Super tanky composition coming out from Jin Air, though, with a lot of protection for both Grace and Teddy. Feels like a Jin Air comp to me, as the Braum easily going to be taken away. I just love it. The fact that Khan almost means that every time you get to the second round of bans, these are the bans. It's Camille and Jace almost every time, and it leaves open these high priority supports that Gorilla can pick
And it's
up.
very frequently that the Jace actually even a first round ban, so
yeah.
he does alone draw so much pressure. Kingzone have the god solo laners in Korea, Gnar and Ryze, their ability to rotate, and Gnar having a pushing lane in basically every assignment. Means they have very, very strong lanes, and then they have the win rate casino in the bot lane where they have a 7-0 Ezreal and a 5-0 Braum on the season, so just on ultra comfort. Basically everything lines up when you're Kingzone because you can't ban out any of the players, and you certainly can't ban out the roster, as still power picks are not selected here. Jin Air do have a strong comp with win conditions, but hitting your win conditions against Kingzone DragonX, best of luck.
Yeah, and will they hit them fast enough as well is the question, because we know that Kingzone are just so good at pushing any lead as far as they want to take it almost immediately. This guy on the top side of the map, of course, has shown so much well-rounded resilience as far as how he lanes the top lane as well. He can crush you extremely early, or he can wait, he can scale up, and he can crush you later. Almost every player on this team is just really, really good at doing so many things.
When you were saying that exact thing, we were going through the roles here, and I'm like, you could have been talking about any of these Kingzone players.
I did kind of realize that. I'm like, oh no, it's another Kingzone game where everything I say is just fluff because they're just so good.
I'm ready for another Kingzone game, Atlas.
So my Papa Smithy, Jin Air, they may not necessarily be though. We'll see whether they can get onto the Rift and get it going as we hop into game one.
환영합니다.
Bit of a sleepy plane over there.
This is a very sleepy plane. Not a lot of belief. I feel like most of the people here in this audience have already voted, and they may have been in the Kingzone camp.
It is Saturday, and we're in this weird duality where some people are joining us very late in the night on a Friday night in North America.
Yeah.
A lot of people got into the studio already, but there's still people streaming in. Usually around 6 p.m. people find their voice, but the end result's a little bit sad for Jin Air. Peanut just walking up super aggressively.
Yeah, we got a couple of E buttons pressed from both teams. How exciting.
It's a bit of basically a face check maneuver. Wanted to walk in and ward, but for now wasn't able to. Some handmade Kingzone fan signs.
Nice. Peanut fans in the audience.
So many big brands on the side of Kingzone. 3 of them established. I mean, Kingzone kind of have. I was able to sit back, I had a day off and think about why Kingzone are able to win so frequently, and I realized that they're actually unfair. They get to field 3 Rocks Tigers from 2016, and no one else can field more. So
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's just how it works. Simple math.
And it feels like that's the recipe for victory as well, is 3, because then you'd have to replace Khan or BDD, and you certainly don't want to do that.
Well, we're going to have to replace talking about action with talking about a pause, as we're going to wait for Joel to slowly hop on Discord, let us know what's happening in the Kingzone booth.
Yeah, haven't quite heard the beep sound of him actually connecting, but we'll let you know if he does. Is your money on an audio issue, Papa Smithy? My money's a little bit on an audio issue.
Oh, we've got the confirmation. Sideline reporter Joel
Thank you very much, Joel. Confirms
that there
the
is
audio
an
issue.
audio issue. We're being told that Kingzone, the whole team, is experiencing noise. I don't know if that's the sound of their other voices, but the noise is apparently out of the norm.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's the screams of Jin Air before they're ripped out of Summoner's Rift abruptly. But I don't think so, because they shouldn't actually be able to communicate with one another. So hopefully we're going to be able to get this one sorted out. Maybe it's like, I don't know, handicap. Maybe we've actually decided that we need to like give Jin Air a bit of an edge.
I mean, we're having to name things, like the time between sets when Kingzone plays. In the first set, we've named the Kingzone period, the hour to hour and 10 minutes that people have to wait after they win 2-0. Jin Air also have the kind of the worst assignment you could ever have in the LCK, where you play the last match on the previous match day, and then the first match against Kingzone on the next match day for just the least amount of time as a turnaround, and you have to play against by far the most powerful team we have over here in Korea.
The worst part about it is the fact that they actually came off a loss as well, because sometimes that can actually work out for you, right? If you win a game, smash it 2-0, and then come back, then you're fresh, you're feeling motivated, you're ready to go. However, they didn't. It was actually a bit of a depressing series against the ROX Tigers. So probably not exactly being able to utilize that one. But now that we have an audio issue, maybe they're able to just get into the zone, zen up a little bit. You know, it's already been a couple of days. Surely it should be fine. Had a chat to UmTi just before, and you know, he looked quietly confident, which is really
I don't know if
difficult
I saw
to believe.
quite the same thing that you saw.
Well, this was slightly after. I think maybe he had a pep talk, you know, and was starting to feel the vibes.
I don't think he was giving you the famous Hoonie words of "I will just crush them."
No, he certainly didn't do that. No. He said, I said, "I believe in you, UmTi," and he said, "I don't know."
Having too much false bravado against Kingzone can certainly be turned around against you.
Yeah.
Gorilla.
Humble, but I could see it in his eyes that he was ready to go.
Gorilla fans in the audience. One of the most popular players out here in Korea. Kind of BDD is, I would say, is probably the lowest on the popularity rank, and it's only because
Which
he's
is
so
insane,
new.
right? Yeah.
I mean, BDD and Khan, you know, coming into the team at the same time, but Khan, of course, exploding in terms of his image, and BDD is quietly being awesome is kind of...
I feel like at the very beginning it was BDD that was the super awesome.
He was when he debuted, but of course
Yeah.
CJ really did struggle. Then he came in and was good, but I remember just coming to Worlds and like everyone would come up and ask me about Longzhu, and they'd be like, "What about BDD? He seems pretty good." And that's kind of where everyone was like, "This guy's pretty good. How does he die 0.4 times a game as Galio and things like that?" Remember his
really
KDA
dumb.
was just bonkers last season.
And they lost a game, and he was like still 17 KDA on Kassadin or something like that. Yeah, he really wasn't good at dying. He wasn't good at dying.
And now he's really good at killing and really good at carrying also, which is a bit scary.
Are we doing that thing where we're just saying everything about Kingzone is good?
I mean, not everything about Kingzone is good, but they're getting there. I mean, you don't win 12 games in a row against everyone without having quite a lot of awesome around you.
That is very, very true. I'm trying to work out what their weakness is. Maybe their weakness is lack of weaknesses.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're very susceptible to that, Alex.
Yeah, very susceptible to
We
not
want to
having a
learn more
weakness.
about their weaknesses, because I don't think this team is going to perfect their way to the World Championship.
Yeah.
There will be struggles along the line, and we got the call from Joel. Ready for some more Legal Egos.
Here we are. UmTi going to be taking some popcorn chickens here as Kingzone make their way towards the bottom lane, and everything is going to continue. Looked like Peanut got a pretty hefty leash as Kingzone made it to this lane a little bit later.
OGN found the same stat we did. Oh boy, do Jin Air play some long games.
Oh, good God.
About 10 minutes difference between the two. Oh boy, that longest game time. I haven't seen it expressed in terms of
How's
hours.
the PTSD
now I know
pop up?
it's the runtime of a standard Pixar film.
Oh, God. There's actually a lot of films that are shorter than that. Yeah.
What can you do? Whereas KingZone DragonX trying to drag us back towards pre-40 minutes with our average game time.
Yeah, that's like an episode of Scrubs or something like that.
No, those are around 22 minutes, actually. 34 is like HBO bowling out of control on a 30-minute show.
I'm talking about the shortest game time, 23 minutes.
That's true. But this game, let's talk a bit about it, because the draft was a while ago.
Yeah, and it was exciting as well. So a little bit more of a tanky lineup for Jin Air, but Kingzone just having the all-round, we feel really happy at almost all stages of the game composition.
And you might wonder, why does Kingzone just keep locking in Ezreal? Ezreal was pretty heavily nerfed on this patch, both directly and indirectly, with 20 damage off his Mystic Shot. Early game into Kleptomancy at all points being pretty significantly worse on Ezreal. But when you lock in Ezreal Alistair, Ezreal Braum, those are kind of the lanes that you think of in 2018 for Kingzone. It is the ultimate, well, I never have to gank that lane unless they call for a gank, because they are about as safe as can be. And Longzhu and Kingzone never play around their bot lane. They leave their bot lane, just chill, do nebulously well. Prey hits 2 items. Probably they've crashed a turret somewhere, or they're roaming around that time, and then you kind of know what to expect. So they just like the flexibility, the Prey on a champion like Ezreal with a strong but safe laning phase brings them. Does
Also
free
has-
up Peanut to do his own bidding.
Yep. Also, you know, Prey on the Ezreal in a team fight is
Yep.
an absolute joy to watch. So, Kingzone just pretty happy to have him on a power pick as well as something that can get through the lane like you were talking about. Speaking of Peanut, though, he actually did gank the bottom lane in their last match. On the ZAC, was able to actually get around and start things off quite nicely. One of the first times that we've actually seen him make it down there, pre-20 minutes.
We're seeing him enter the enemy jungle. I'd love to see some aggressive early Jax. Been a lot of passive Jax players.
Well, that was cute.
Jax has the buddy system going with BDD. Having a look at the keystones, Unsealed Spellbook on Gorilla. Maybe he will do some glacial fissuring in the mid lane and get some kills like Tucson was able to.
Yeah, we've got 3 spellbooks unsealed on the side of Jin Air as well. It's a play-by-play's worst nightmare. 5 in the game. We have to make sure that we keep our eye on the teleports. As some action goes down in the mid lane, BDD lit on fire with a Spell Thief. Pretty frustrating, but starting off with a cleanse here for Grace, not wanting to get caught out early.
This game is all about Kingzone getting through the early game, crashing a turret, and then having the awesome rotations that specifically Gnar and Ryze as your solo laners will bring you. The perfect situation where both of them have the ability to push, they have semi-globals, they have lane priority, so much flexibility about Kingzone's comp when it gets going, but BDD is taking a lot of harassment.
Yeah, did manage to get his shield from the passive. Not a lot of mana left on Grace, so won't need to worry about Paddle Stars coming down, but in goes Peanut, and this is what we were talking about. Jax versus Jarvan feels pretty good to be the Jax if you meet up early on.
And let's wait and see when we actually see the skill order for Jax. We're seeing a lot of flexibility at Max is Khan.
Okay, just bounds in there. No Gnar to be had, only level 5. But gets the vision down immediately. It's swept. Feels bad. Yeah. But it's okay.
Push and roam from Khan, very, very predictable in the Ornn matchup. Ornn has Ignite, so always outside chance of an all-in, but realistically, pushing top lane, pushing mid lane, a very safe bot lane, and Jax can kind of farm up a storm. So everyone's kind of gleefully accepting a bit of a passive early game on the side of Kingzone, whereas for Jin Air, very strong siege. You have to understand that when the siege comes in, you just have Zoe and Caitlyn. We talked a lot about Zoe Ezreal, Zoe Caitlyn, very similar.
Yeah.
Trap line goes down, a bubble goes in. You have to respect both those things. There's a lot of places you can't move, a lot of space control, and then you're like, okay, I've hit the Zen moment. I now feel comfortable. And then a damn Ornn ultimate comes from behind you, and you're going to get hit by something. So the siege here, they can actually get a siege fully engineered, is very powerful. But Kingzone instead want to crash the turret, go 1-3-1, and really punish any attempts to 5-man siege from Jin Air. So that's the differing impact here, is that Kingzone desperately want to spread us across the map, whereas Jin Air are all about rolling down one lane. They're doing ARAM in the mid.
Yeah, and we'll see whether they can actually get that one to work out, because if you fall behind with these sort of compositions, you just get pulled apart. And falling behind against Kingzone is something that most teams have been able to do. However, this time around, only 100 gold in it. Jin Air being able to navigate this early game quite nicely. Grace in the mid lane also looking brilliant. Would have been able to steal that blue buff, but was a little bit late.
It was also blind, just going for a guess there, so it's control ward down from the side of Kingzone.
Teddy, hungry for some honey fruit, makes his way back to the lane. Is winning in farm, but Prey is keeping up, and Ezreal versus Caitlyn feels like a bit of a range advantage for the old Caitlyn.
Kingzone with 2 sorceries, probably some Gathering Storm at least on one of them. Teddy also has sorcery, and you see sorcery on Teddy, you know that's going to be Gathering Storm.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to talk to you about the fleet footwork Gnar, though, because we've been seeing mostly summon Airy. Is there a reason why he would have taken that one specifically this game?
It's kind of a reviewer's tilt. You can kind of go either, but I think the main reason, as we see Peanut looking for a guest in the mid lane.
Yep. Exhaust does come in, but Peanut wants to find Grace. Immediate cleanse, and we'll be able to get out. UmTi, good positioning. Make sure that his mid laner is going to be okay, but that's one summon a spell down.
It's a lot about mobility when you go fleet footwork, so it's not going to be able to sustain, certainly in the lane against Ornn. It's more of a mobility choice. You get extra autos, and so much of your power in the mid-game will be around 5 points in W and really proccing the hyper in mini-Gnar form, then I can understand craving that third auto. And also, so many trades with Ornn, your area is going to be negated by the Bellows Breath, the W, that you don't often get the same impact than against champions that don't have on-command max HP shields. So it's another way to play the lane, but specifically when you have, say, Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, and you're level 5 in Hyper, it'll really make him do extra trade damage And if you want to think about team fights, if he gets that movement speed proc at the right time for the Gnar, that's pretty sick as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also means that you can hunt down your opposing top laner, even if he's a tank. The Hyper giving you the movement speed as well as the fleet footwork.
Great.
Jace.
Teleport, of course.
It happens every time at the right time for these Zoes.
On the PvE notes, they mentioned they're looking to remove teleport as a random drop for the Zoe. So one of the ways they're going to tone down the Zoe. So obviously, only just a slight mention because it's not on live just yet, but perhaps the frustration factor will be.
Though, Papa Smithy, 0.25 seconds.
You shouldn't talk about that. That's a hot topic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, she's already getting
There's pretty
smashed.
significant nerfs mooted for the future patch, but you're right.
Yeah.
When it comes to competitive, that's going to be a end of round robin situation, because that's sounding like 8.4 for the big nerfs.
Yep. 8.3, of course, will probably be the next week of LCK that we see after this one.
Yeah, we have no unique insight, but you do the math when it comes to weeks, and it does heavily suggest that we only get a 1 week wonder on the patch 8.2. It came in with a lot of hype because it just wasn't 8.1, but sadly, hasn't necessarily abated all of the long games. We had the 74-minute epic.
We did. Which wasn't 94 minutes, so you can't say that it wasn't an improvement, but still.
You know, it was close enough.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a little bit more of a change, though.
When I don't know who's going to win at 60 minutes, I get very cranky, Alice.
Really? He seemed super calm. We laugh to keep from crying. Okay, here's some action, though, as Peanut takes an Electrocute proc. Grace is going to move over here. The Trouble Bubble thrown out very quickly and in the wrong direction.
It was a teleport, so it's something at least. Was from Gorilla, if you're keeping track at home. That means that Gorilla won't be involved in any side map plays, and Wraith, oh boy, still has his teleport, as that was just the Abyssal Voyage. Tried the collapse onto Peanut, but low percentage chance when all his summoners were up and he hadn't used Leap Strike.
Yep. Teddy actually pretty happy here in this bottom side of the map. Ninja Tabi already picked up. We'll be able to move a little bit more quickly out of the way of any ganks that are definitely not coming because this is King Zone. And we'll be able to use that BF sword to keep shoving this lane forward. So expect to see King Zone's bottom lane underneath their turret for the next little while.
It's game of item timings. Abyssal Mask coming in for the Ryze. Peanut getting closer and closer to his Trinity Force. 1.5 items on Gnar, and then if they can make the map play, it probably requires Gura's teleport. But if they can make the map play to crash a turret, then the game gets very difficult for Jin Air to engineer a force, given how strong King Zone are in the 1-3-1. Let's wait and see where the tussle goes, because for once, King Zone are happy to play it slow in the early game and just respect the fact that, you know, with the Caitlyn laning power, the potential for mid lane to open up, not giving away a Rift Herald, not giving away any sort of turret damage is fine as a early game assignment for King Zone.
Speaking of those Rift Heralds, the Leap Strike going to help Peanut get over here. He's going to be able to start that one up. UmTi nowhere near it, so it looks like this will just be free as Grace. He's moving down over a ward. King Zone should be able to make their way out of this one just fine. Honey Fruit is going to be the only prize.
He's going to spot this.
Wow, he actually turns up, taking a long time for Peanut to grab this. And
Smite
good
War.
timing. Oh, God. Leap Strike is enough. No one's able to move over here quickly enough. Good timing on the Gnar as well. From Khan means that they're not going to be able to challenge that one at all. Wave clear in the mid lane, wave clear on the bottom side. And I mentioned that Teddy should be able to clear out these waves. Still, enough pressure being put on by King Zone's bottom lane. Gorilla might need to be a little bit careful.
Very opportunistic by Peanut, but of course, picking up the Rift Herald does start to speed up their intention to take the first turret, to start that rotational play. I thought it would have to be Denial because they played so passive, but sort of thing you can do when you have your jungle item. Sneak in, pick up the Rift Herald. UmTi wasn't pathing around it, and from there they get a really big advantage as their items come in. There's Iceborne Gauntlet finished for Prey, so already has some wave control. BDD might actually be going for Rod of Ages this time, so
Yeah, it looks like it.
sidestepping the Paddle Stars rather than being hit by them is the approach you're taking there. Doesn't have that much magic damage on his team, so the synergy for at least the Abyssal Mask, 10% damage amp wouldn't have been massive.
Yeah, I also like it. Synergizes well with the Gathering Storm that he's taken in the Sorcery Tree.
Hey,
you have to assume.
We are assuming, but it's a fair assumption, I think, Atlas. Whenever Jin Air's in the game, just assume Sorcery equals Gathering Storm.
Exactly. That's sort of my take on it as well. In fact, the carries on both sides of the matchup have probably got it. Ain't no illusions. about the game time problems that Jin Air have been having. UmTi taking away another Raptor camp. We'll see whether this Mountain Drake is actually going to call for any attention from anyone. Kingzone have sort of organically made themselves 500 gold richer. It might be the Kleptomancer coming out of Prey helping out.
And they've also produced a way to get a shoving lane in the bot lane. If you rush Iceborne Gauntlet, you don't do a lot of damage, certainly, but you do a lot of pushing. Actually, even against a lane like Caitlyn, you are able to push out, get lane control. So Peanut often really does have run of the map right now. He can just look for an aggressive Rift Herald use. We know it's about a minute and a half available here, so he can still try and choose a better time. He can also start visiting the Scuttler, the Mountain Drake. A lot of options here for Peanut. As always, not being drawn to a lane.
Grace doesn't find the trouble bubble onto Peanut, who's just going to take a grump and continue moving forward. So I guess one of the reasons why this bottom lane isn't able to shove just as easily is because Tahm Kench doesn't offer that much in the way of wave clear. Normally we see these Caitlyn lanes doing really well, but like you say, Kingzone have been the ones controlling it with the added AoE from the Iceborne Gauntlet like you talk about. It's a bit genius as far as creating control.
I believe these are the world records also for CS records. Definitely the first two. There was an over 900 CS game in the LMS. I forget if it was 903 or 993, but either way, I believe this is the top three. It's certainly the top two for world CS records as well.
Oh, yes. The 94-minute game was, of course, Teddy, and then Bang was 900, I believe, in that game. And then in his 74-minute game, the Epic we had last week, was that was Bang's other world record. So it just shows that, you know, this particular series of patches is pretty good at producing extended league.
There's that good old asterisk of Sivir, given
yes.
Sivir has first and second place, but it was an Ezreal at third, so that's pretty cool. Trouble Bubble actually lands onto the Rift Herald. That's actually relevant, given they're trying to pile in here, Kingzone.
Yep. Defensive Abyssal Voyage, though, makes sure that Jin Air should be able to hold onto this turret. Of course, does lose half of its health bar, but that is absolutely fine, given the fact that Kingzone had moved 4 members into the mid lane to try and grab that one.
Let's wait to see if the move is permanent. They could just side lane the Ryze early, but on the posturing, they're not willing to move their mid lane just yet. Ryze stays in a short lane. Kingzone return to pushing duty. Game could break open at any moment here for Kingzone, but for now, the turret HPs are high, the items are still rolling in, so Atlas, we've got a bit of a sleepy time.
Yeah, it could be a sleepy one. Not beat it either. He sidesteps it. You mentioned that was the strategy that he was going to employ, and he certainly did so. Grace with the heal that he picked up as well means that he just stays completely fine. Everything is A-okay. Now the Static Shiv is done, though, on the bottom side of the map. We could see Jin Air able to get a shove on. Because if you have a feeling that if the laning phase just continues, it's going to be Caitlyn that's going to benefit from that one as we move on. I hope so, otherwise I'm just going to start looking like a complete idiot.
Prey just wants 2 items, and then he's kind of good to go on anything. After the 2 items, everything is Gucci. Once he has the Iceborne Gauntlet and also the Mana Moon. Mana Moon on the next shop, I'd imagine, it's given gold timings. But for now, you are completely correct. Teddy able to push up, able to get some wave control. Prey desperately wants to back. Yeah. So the farming times might be shorter now for Kingzone.
Yeah, Teddy pretty happy just to stand underneath this turret and rip it all apart. So thankfully with Static Shiv now, the Caitlyn does what I thought it was supposed to do a little bit earlier on than this. Teleport going to come out from Gorilla just to make sure that this one doesn't fall down. And Jin Air should be gifted this first dragon. Prey now walking back from base and 4 members down here. It is looking like it's going to go to Jin Air really easily, and does so with Gorilla sort of observing from afar.
He's playing around timings really well. Prey was forced back, picks up his Mana Moon. This is usually where we see Kingzone amp up the tempo. Stinger, actually the first Trinity Force. I mean, you almost never see that in an inventory, unless someone's depressed they were 300 gold short of the completion.
Yep.
Or you're in Azir, but that's a different thing. Top side, Ryze.
Of course, the ultimate is only going to be used for wave.
Well, I mean, Ryze was roaming, so it was the right time to do a gangplank and just ult the wave and hope for the best.
Yep, cute little Bellows Breath to get out of the way of the Wallop stun. SoHwan clears that one out nicely. Upon seeing the Ryze's return to lane, everything is going to be okay. Been impressed by Jin Air holding on to this early game and not falling behind in CS in almost any lane. Sort of only top side that really is the problem, but that was where SoHwan was under pressure.
A lot of defensive control here for Jin Air. Not a lot of advanced vision. Caitlyn, you know, they reinforced their early game. With a pick like Caitlyn, there was very little lane to try and dunk on because they picked for lane and thus picked for the delay. While Ornn might organically lose, it does mean that Khan is going to take a long time to be able to push the versus health bar, then teleport, then the turret. So given the strength of the laning phase here, it's kind of the sort of thing that Peanut looks at and just opts into farming. He opts into having a Trinity Force the first time any sort of 5v5 action happens, and then you're just giving a free Trinity Force to the jungler, which doesn't feel that great either. So there's different ways that Kingzone can play this out. We know that 1-3-1 will be that identity eventually. So they're trying to show some aggression now, just all spotted by Jin Air GreenWings.
Yeah, Khan not going to be able to steal this one away as Grace claims his own blue. Couple of buffs actually to be taken here from Kingzone, but they're focusing here on the mid lane. BDD with the Rod of Ages build actually doing some okay damage, utilizing that AP against the turret. That will go down next time, and BDD almost with the lane control that he's had, been able to organically take that turret. A lot of help from the Rift Herald, of course.
Shout out to Observers showing us 51 HP, 20 more than that famous KSV versus Afrika Nexus.
Oh.
But unable to actually finish that one off. We're just trying to punish there. So it's a multi-step plan. You know, a moment ago, we were focused on Khan trying to steal away the blue. So were Jin Air. They move up. Some free autos to the Jags collapsing in the mid lane. Almost yields the turret. They desperately want to start accelerating the game. It might also just lead to the rotation here. You might just pack up and start to rotate the Ezreal. There's piling on items, working towards Blade the Ruin King third.
Yep. Still, 200 gold is in it, and that is basically nothing here, as Kingzone are pretty used to having an extended lead by about 20 minutes into the game. Gorilla, he's going to wander on over, tank up this turret for a moment, keep that cast creep alive, fortification down, and that is turret number 1. Going over to BDD. He's got a couple of his items as well. Archangel's Staff done. Will be a Seraph's Embrace pretty soon, but it's so early to be picking up that item that doesn't do the insta-transform. You almost barely ever see the Archangel Staff these days.
And I want to talk about the fact that we're talking about transformations because it feels like Muramana, Seraph's 10-stack Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
It's all coming online pre-25 minutes. And then you just have better items because the item efficiency when you're allowed to stack is super high on an income. Jin Air will want to fight around that time to start cementing their siege, start moving towards a Baron, and then forcing Kingzone to react. But the item spikes will be so severe in the next 4 minutes or so that Jin Air are just going to be outclassed item-wise. They lose a Baron, then kind of everything goes away to the 1-3-1 comp. So when the item stacking comes together so early in the picture, you have to avoid fights, and Kingzone will love that.
They will also love the warding that was done by Gorilla on his way to the mid lane, because that spotted Grace out meant that Prey and Gorilla are going to be absolutely fine.
Only thing that's in danger here for Kingzone is their average game time. We're rolling through slowly. Kingzone play a game like this every 5, where they just play very, very respectful and slow. I think of their Gangplank games, for example, where those often average in the mid-40s. And this does seem to be an approach to that. I never wonder if that's a... I always wonder, sorry, if it's a respectful thing to the enemy team or...
I think it's respectful to their own draft. I think that's sort of how they've been playing it out.
To me, it's kind of like a best-of-5 decision where you can simulate best-of-5s by actually giving your team different win conditions in different drafts. You don't always have to counterpick for top. You can go for approaches like this where you will learn things for future series. Because in a best-of-5, you're not going to have winning lanes every game.
Well, this mid lane certainly not winning as well. You can see BDD.
Oh! It's going to hit him.
Not this time.
Well,
not this time.
It was going to hit him, but smart movement away, and Jarvan also copped a bit there, so good communication from the side of Jin Air, but Peanut, ever the opportunist, pushes in. Now just Sheen the completion away from his Trinity Force. And you've got some pretty damn scary 2-item members on the side of Kingzone. I'd say there's 4.
Prey and BDD both finishing off their transformation items, and I'm glad you mentioned Khan as well in that, alluding to it anyway, because Frozen Mallet Black Cleaver means that the time that SoHwan's going to be having in the top lane is going to be a rough one, because due to the fact that he is fleet footwork as well, he will stick to any target and shred those resists extremely quickly.
Some fun items here. Look at both Ornn and the Jarvan have gone Warmocks. The Jarvan one's not as surprising, but the Ornn one this early is pretty surprising. It is another siege choice of push up, try to harass a little bit, back off for the next minion wave. Warmog's healing comes in. Let's try the siege. So Jin Air building for the siege. They've also set up for the siege with their picks. So while it's predictable, it's a little bit different to normal Ornn builds, so I wanted to pay it a little bit of lip service.
Man, Peanut has been blue screening a lot. Thankfully, Grace has been
Hey,
locking those ones out.
Don't laugh about blue screens. We've already had one pause this game.
Well, I mean, Zoe does actually blue screen.
It's true.
It's just one of those things. SoHwan at least going to be able to continue clearing out minion waves. Khan not too worried, just wants to keep the pressure on as much as possible. And the game has been extraordinarily slow. Understandably, Teddy going to be farming up extraordinarily well for the clock. 24 minutes, 273, feeling great. But BDD's on 283 as Ryze, 40 CS ahead of the clock at 24 minutes. Jesus.
And
Whoa, and 282 for Khan. Everyone has gotten every creep and then some jungle camps.
I mean, the jungle proximity of this game has been almost zero, so it's just been laning for every lane. First strike was a mountain for Jin Air, a freebie on the ocean, and another ocean coming. No fire allowed in this particular series. But I think both teams, for different reasons, are happy with how the early game went.
Yeah,
Jin Air for a morale reason, and because of who they're facing nameplates on. You'd be happy to go 25 minutes against Kingzone with no deaths.
And be this even as well, yeah.
Exactly, and the fact that it's both gold and scaling fairly even between the two, there is kind of validity for both of them being a bit passive, as finally we're seeing Prey get a bit frisky.
Yeah, it was really cute timing there with the True Shot Barrage as well, but didn't manage to find Teddy. He's going to be clearing things out.
Trinity Force from the jungle for Peanut.
Yeah,
Kingzone are definitely
good God.
at some insane item spikes. I know you love talking about power spikes every time Corky's in the game. I already know your color points, so I'm ready to see some Trinity Force Jack's power spike team fights from Kingzone.
Do we have Zhonya's complete? No, we don't. That's just a straight-up Morellonomicon done for BDD. That's 3 items at 25 minutes. Ludicrous.
Yeah, big damage builds so far by Kingzone, and Jin Air still piecing together their identity. Getting the siege they desperately want. It's going to be a fun thing to track. A Baron steal would be a great way to start that. And I say steal because they're just kind of taking the defensive role in 3 lanes at the same time while the enemy jungler casually puts together one of the most expensive items in the game. So no real map control to the side of Jin Air, but no urgency from Kingzone means that we're left with this 26 minutes speckless game with no kills.
Yeah. Lady of the Ruin King now done for Prey. I think it's about time to start a fight, boys. Like, possibly. Khan probably has a full item to purchase as BDD once again takes a bit of a roam towards the top side, but really good reactions here from Jin Air.
2 wards down as well.
Yeah, a lot of testing the waters from, I guess, both teams as well. We've seen sort of illusions of action, but always having the right counterplay on both sides. It's not that this is extraordinarily slow because no one wants to do anything or someone's scared. It just feels like there are answers there and no one can really find the right reason to fight in a way that they want to. So we are going to have this passive, very passive early stage of the game. Probably the most we've seen out of Kingzone thus far.
And we're at the point of the game where Jin Air don't want to fight 5v5 because they've got the Caitlyn, who kind of needs to hit 6 item territory to make their draft work in terms of true 5v5s. For Siege, like we said, obviously, gold standard, but they have, you know, a poke mage and a Caitlyn who, at 3 items, is strong. But you look at how many 2 to 3 item threats, that's a lot of damage, right?
Yeah, Unbreakable, thankfully, is going to save his life, but
item-wise, item timing-wise, Kingzone are stronger in the 5v5 now, so Jin Air kind of have this awkward spot where they really don't want to be forced into a 5v5. They just want to keep laning. So it sounds comical, but they're kind of happy for the 6-item Caitlyn before we fight approach right now.
Yeah, even though, you know, this 3-item build from Teddy, massive amounts of crit, so it does work out quite nicely. It's not like Caitlyn doesn't get a power spike before, what was it, 4 items generally. I feel like with this build, before a lot of armor has been purchased, you feel okay having the double Zeal items and the Infinity Edge. Ultimate utilized. The only reason that it is going to be used is to try and kill some creeps, but doesn't do enough. It's Kingzone are going to be able to take down this turret all too easy. So 2 turrets to 0. Map control starting to swing in favor of Kingzone just naturally.
Yeah, with Trinity Force complete, as long as the backdoor bonus isn't enacted, he'll just come in and whack it a few times and it's dead. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, clearing most of the minions, not good enough. Stop the turret going down. See if we see any sort of approach to the bot lane engineered by Kingzone. Already 2 turrets taken down.
Khan just finished his Blade of the Ruined King from nothing. As he goes back. He's got the local gold for that one as well. So showing that Khan, yeah, he agrees with you. Wants to be going for the split push. And not opting into any of these 5v5s as we move forward. So it will just be, I'm going to frustrate you forever, SoHwan. As far as the item build.
Cuvée was the first to show us this, as we finally see an aggressive leap strike coming through from Peanut. He was the first to show us that building for the split push on Gnar and then just hitting a sick Gnar ultimate doesn't matter how many tank items you put together. If you have lane control, you're more likely to get the flank, and thus justify the Gnar pick. So, seeing many more Gnars go into Zeal item, go into Blade of the Ruined King, build for damage in the side lane, and try to put at least some modicum of threat onto SoHwan, as we might see level 18s hit in this game before we see our first kill.
Yeah. Well, Khan's level 17, so that is certainly happening very, very quickly. BDD as well leveling up quite nicely. So having the whole outer ring of turrets also removed means that Kingzone gets to now play that super calm, collected, move our vision up, deny you your jungle camps, keep the waves pushed in, and win the game type strategy. Also, Baron going to be an option here. 30 minutes into the game, Kingzone likely to be able to get on top of that one. Needlessly large rod now for BDD as well. Jesus. He's going to be very, very strong. I think he'll probably end up... Wait a second. Why does he have a needlessly large rod? He won't be able to fit in Void Staff and Zhonya's.
He's going to build a death cap.
So he just doesn't care about having the... He's got his stopwatch now, of course, but once that one breaks, he won't have any room for it. So it's just showing that he's playing pretty confidently on the Ryze.
Does he look like he needs a Zhonya's, Atlas?
Absolutely
How much
not.
extra damage does Death Cap do to minions that he's pushing and not fighting?
Yeah.
A lot.
I'm pretty sure BDD is just saying, well, I'm going to pretend that it's 8.3, and this is how I would be building my Ryze on that patch, because I can't use the bubble half tactic.
Honestly, AP means more side lane pressure, and we're not fighting, so if his assignment is to push minions and then teleport, having extra AP is just fine.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you press the Zhonya's button, you can't be doing damage. And that is not what BDD is about. He's about doing damage as often as possible.
It's the sort of bloodless game that Monte Cristo will go crazy for, because
yeah, exactly.
Kingzone have largely done exactly what they want here. They keep pushing in. They're in the side lane. Jin Air, again, game is kind of being taken away from them. Not really, because they still do have some belief in the Siege. If they can get a Baron buff, they can really frustrate the team of Kingzone, but when it comes to their control of their own destiny, it doesn't feel like there's a massive amount here for Jin Air. There's kind of along with the ride. Kingzone is enacted.
I feel like Jin Air also want to stop Kingzone from doing a Baron rather than starting it up themselves necessarily. Turning off the Baron isn't as inviting as it is shooting members of Kingzone in a Baron pit, especially with no Warmogs being completed on them as well. It will be damaged.
Shooting planes in a barrel, if you will.
Yes.
Peanut's actually quietly tanky as well.
Yep.
Oh, Jax has really high base stats, and he's putting together a Sterix Gauge as well. I hear a Ghost.
The Dream combo, yep. BDD is going to throw down the Ghost. Cleanse immediately comes out from Grace. That's the Abyssal Voyage, and Jin Air GreenWings once again with the answer for the aggression coming out of Kingzone. Khan continues shoving on the bottom side, though, and has the teleport to be able to meet up with some of these fights. Baron not going to be looked at just yet. This is exactly where Kingzone want to be.
What is the record amount of farm in a game before the first kill? Is it this game?
Oh, look at Khan.
We've got enough time to do some math. I'll do some math while you just talk about vaguely what's on the screen.
All right. Khan wandering backwards and forwards. If this is the most interesting thing on the screen, you know that you're in.
It's about 1,400 creeps-ish for Jin Air. And then...
Tell me more about these mathematics, Papa Smithy. This is what we pay you for.
It's about 1,490 for the side of Kingzone. So about 80 creeps ahead. That's quite a few minion waves.
Yep.
About 13.
It's a lot of creeps killed before
1,480 plus
that
1,400.
kill champions.
We're going to hit 3,000 creeps before someone dies. I think the creeps really need to hold a referendum and end this senseless violence towards their kind.
I mean, I've spoken about this, but the creep genocide is something that really does bother me. I think it was a few weeks ago, and you were like, Max, it's getting a bit morbid over here.
Maybe they should change their name, because, I mean, they could go for something a bit more like appeasing to creeps. Like, creeps is not a positive word in the English language.
Unless it's a Radiohead song.
That's true.
In which case people like it, yeah.
It's also, you know, that's an interesting song, that one. We hear that quite often at our normal establishment.
Yep.
But, yeah. Farm.
But Papa, the 6-item dream, it's there for Teddy. He's got 5, you know, if you include the boots. So Lord Dominic's Regard is done as well. He'll be able to shred through Khan's relatively large health bar, as well as Peanut's. Peanut not with a lot of resists, actually, so Lord Doms feels great.
I think we're at 3,000 creeps, by the way.
Yeah, feels like it. I really should just get out my calculator. I mean, is my play-by-play even necessary right now? I could just be calculating creeps this whole time.
You could be.
Yeah. My usefulness feels at an all-time low this game.
So, this is a game.
It is. It continues to try and be. Khan goes back, gets a Hex Drinker and a Last Whisper.
Maybe.
He is committed to
Maybe
doing damage.
Kingzone heard the fans' disappointment. They have to wait an hour for more League of Legends after a Kingzone series.
Oh my god, Teddy's going to Flame Horizon the clock. At 35 minutes.
He's doing good.
Oh my god, that is nutty. Very impressive. Peanut needs to guess some magic resist, I think, because that did a big old chunk. Grace probably ready to buy some more items as well, because it's been a while since he went back to the shop. And did you play much StarCraft as a kid?
Sure.
Because there was a mode that I used to play when I was very young.
30-minute no rush?
Yep, it was no rush 30, and it was on the fastest possible map, and you got to sit there and build only photon cannons in your base and hope that no one ever actually attacked you. And that's what I feel like Jin Air and Kingzone have agreed to.
And then you go online, you play ladder, and you win no games.
No
you get
games
crushed.
at all. Absolutely brutally obliterated. Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna attack him with SCVs now. You just wait. But no, it's not.
LCK plays the no rush mode as well, but it's a Katie roster special.
Oh, that's sad, Papa Smithy. Maybe we'll see him. You know, after their performance against Kingzone, maybe a change is necessary.
Have we ever had no kills before someone hits 6 items? Because we're getting close, Atlas.
We're getting so close.
Prey is working towards nebulously a Bloodthirster, maybe an Infinity Edge. Grace just wants to feel himself alive, pops a ghost.
Just ghosting. Feeling good about it. Okay. We got a Baron that's been started. Trouble Bubble flies through here. Jin Air are going to see what's going on, but it's down so low. Baron just taken. Grace, I think, finds a bubble in there as UmTi starts. Oh, see you later. Guys, still no more kills. Baron goes down, 7,000 gold to lead for Kingzone, and nothing's happened.
Dear Diary, I dunked 5 people and they disappeared!
I did so much damage! Why doesn't it not say 5 at the start of my score, guys? What happened? This game is silly.
Well, they definitely lulled them into a false sense of security.
Yep, that certainly happened. 35 minutes, Baron goes down, unbeknownst to anyone. Call the Forge God coming out, but that's just SoHwan being frustrated with the state of the game. Gorilla takes a lot of damage there as Teddy is starting to do some work.
They almost forced a summon a spell.
He's done it. He's done it, by the way. We Flame Horizon the clock.
Well done.
Nice work, Teddy.
We're still waiting for 6 items before our first kill.
Straight up the most exciting thing that's happened this game.
It's also not going to be a perfect game because of Jin Air's earlier Mountain Drake.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously sent reverberations around the rift. We're turning on to Elder. Are we really going to have an Elder before no kills in the game?
I didn't know League of Legends could be PvE, but it is!
Kingzone have perfected the single-player version of League of Legends. The leak, guys. Sorry, I'm leaking it now.
Yep, they're just like, they're taking down all of the raid bosses, you know? Man, Kingzone's guild are way ahead of Jin Air's, though.
And 9,000 gold ahead in an uninteractive game.
Okay. More unbreakable value getting given to Gorilla. Jesus, Papa Smithy, nothing's happened!
Can they win the game with no one dying?
This is the pacifist's approach to League of Legends.
This is truly the civilization dream. Economic
is.
victory is going to come out here. Can we see a win without a kill? That'd be something to shoot for. That would definitely be something.
Well, that turret certainly died, so BDD
I'm really
continuing
hyped
his
now.
onslaught.
I really want to see if they can win without getting killed.
This would actually be the Monte Cristo dream game. We'd have to link it to him afterwards and say, hey, Monty.
He's definitely asleep right now. Someone should wake him up.
Yeah, it's that important. Oh, damn. BDD doing so much damage to this turret, though, as Peanut takes, again, another chunk.
You forget that people do damage when no one has been in 600 range of each other to do autos.
Yeah. Come on, Teddy. Get that 6th item. We need you to have 6 items before anyone's died.
Yeah, I mean, if Prey shopped, I think he would have the gold for it.
Yep.
Come on, we can do it. 6 items.
Come on, redemption! Keeping Teddy alive, thank goodness. So that no one's in danger of dying at all. Passivity.
We're definitely going to have a inhibitor turret go down without a kill.
Ooh, Khan. Almost taken to below half health.
What do you shout about in games like this? I think you need to enact the sliding scale. Get excited about something, Atlas.
Okay. Inhibitor taken down by
Nice.
Peanut. Absolutely incredible play. And Khan on the other side, split pushing like a god.
Oh, Gorilla could die here.
Actually being thrown out. The Unbreakables there. They're going to get a kill. No, they're not. I take it all back. Battlestar finally comes in. First blood at 40 freaking minutes in the game.
It was 39 on the dot, but someone had to go down. It's Gorilla. Now they're chasing after Khan. That seems silly.
Yep. Kingzone with over 13,000 gold in the lead and infinite amounts of kills down. And UmTi gonna jump back in again. Everyone leaves his Cataclysm one more time as the minions just go on a merry ride. Peanut will have to get himself out of the way. Oh, thankfully Leap Strike to Prey is going to help him. And still, no one's dead. Kingzone might actually win a game where they haven't killed anyone, though. That could still happen.
Exactly. We still have to get excited about something. That is the new thing we are focused on. Longest game of the season for Kingzone DragonX looking likely. Finally, Jin Air got the collapse because it's just the very simple nature of the map. The closer you get to the enemy nexus, the narrower it gets, the more it favors the defending team. Finally, Jin Air actually turn it on. They killed Gorilla, who walked up too many times.
Look at how much gold they had.
They have a lot.
BDD had 3.5k.
I mean, he's at 6 items.
Yeah, he is now.
So is Prey. So is Teddy.
Okay, so Kingzone did it. They got to 6 items without killing anyone. That's good. Just shows, guys, that it's all about farm. Don't need to get kills to be rich. Just farm it out, and then 40 minutes you could have 6 items too.
But I mean, how do you make sense of this game as a counterpoint to them just like smashing KT a few days ago?
Whoa, okay, yeah, Teddy's doing a whole bunch of damage. Unbreakable again, being the MVP. I want to know how much damage Gorilla's blocked with that ability, because it will be a huge number. True Shot Barrage. No more Baron buff, remember, guys. So Kingzone not going to have that pushing power that they had before.
Again, I'm really going to say that I believe this is a deliberate strategy by Kingzone to play out different game types than they usually do. There's validity into that. If you are so confident in your process that you just say, let's play a slower game.
Let's focus on macro.
Yep. I want to, a coach could definitely go to their charges and say, I want a deathless game. I want it to be as close to perfection as possible.
Yeah, we need you to play perfectly. Don't take risks that you don't need
And,
to.
that's the sort of thing.
That, yeah.
And then if your warding is on point and you have a defensive mindset, then you're going to avoid ganks rather than Peanut looking for ganks. So there's definitely something to learn in every type of game. And it just hasn't been the same Kingzone that routed KT Rolster in Game 1 against weaker opposition. Jin Air certainly not on KT's level. You'd assume that you'd follow the logic and they would beat them even easier. But it's been a very different performance by Kingzone and a counterpoint to their previous 12 game wins in a row.
Yeah. But they are still dominating Jin Air without killing them at all.
They're still up 14,000 gold.
Yeah. Almost out of nowhere, especially with the gigantic CS lead that Teddy now has. Oh! God, Prey. Okay, well, if Grace can just straight up delete someone, that could feel good, yeah. Still got another item slot to finish off the blasting wand into something else.
We have seen a one-shot on Ezreal over the Gangnam Stadium. That was a pure one-shot, no trouble bubble from the Zoe. But remember that Prey actually has magic resist, so he also isn't underfarmed and has plenty of levels. So there's just a bit more difficult. We'll see if the 6th item can actually put it over the edge. Blasting one in the inventory here. See what Grace wants to pick up as, remember, Ornn items exist.
Yeah.
We've got the Mega Edge and the Super Mask.
Perfect. I actually know the names of these ones.
I'm
not. Well, I do now. With the Mega Edge and the Ultra Mask. Okay, Gorilla. Ooh. Even Unbreakable's not enough for these paddle
He doesn't have much armor, and Teddy also has 6 items. And we said something about Siege. It took 43 minutes, but this looks like a Siege!
We're getting there! I mean, they don't have an inhibitor on the bottom side of the map, so that feels real bad. So this Siege is not going to be able to last forever, but you're right. Caitlyn's going to be stronger than Ezreal, because she's got an extra bit of item.
Peanut's playing against Rek'Sai. There's no Rek'Sai in the game plan. He can move. Okay, he's moving.
Okay, Khan's just going to go over and win the game casually. Baron is being taken here by Jin Air though. True Shot Barrage does a bit of damage, especially to Grace. That is going to be that. Peanut doesn't manage to steal. And 2 inhibitors are now dead. This is the King Zone that we now know, which is let's not do anything and win the game. Peanut gets a stun onto Teddy.
I mean, they took a Baron against King Zone. So the second Baron, I believe they've given up all season, maybe third, but they've given up no more than that. Khan with the Mega Gnar.
But remember, this is split push Gnar, so if he gets shot 4 times from Teddy, I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Also, his team was very far away, and all summoners are up on Jin Air. So guess what a Baron buff will help with? Extending the game.
This is such a weird game.
It really is.
Jin Air are playing very aggressively, I guess.
This is like when your favorite artist has that one really alternative
yeah.
song or album or picture, depending on the type of artist, and you're trying to look at it and make the most of it, but it could also be they got off, woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning or something.
Yeah, I know a few examples of that, but they're just really obscure bands, so I'm just not going to really go into it. But we all have those.
We are doing a mainstream broadcast of the English language version of League of Legends Champions Korea, so like alternative wouldn't fit in our demographic.
That is true, I guess. The band I was thinking about was Thrice. They really did change. But UmTi, he might be dead here. And by might, I mean definitely is. Peanut's going to be locking down that kill. First kill for King Zone as well. The King Zone first blood as Gorilla flashes.
I think we're fighting.
Just lines up the Fisher as Khan is going to get in here as well. Doesn't have the Gnar anymore.
Praise on Grace.
Yeah, Grace is in a whole host of trouble, and that means that Prey has just got rid of him. Just wants to be corralling the Zoe out of the fight. BDD gets over there as well, but that's going to leave Gorilla all on his own. A little bit of a misplay in the team fight from King Zone. It just seems like Jin Air don't care about inhibitors going down. They're like, we were born in this kind of pain. We can come back from 3 inhibs down no matter the cost.
And sieging never became a thing for Jin Air in the early game because it was so passive, and we said now they kind of have to wait for 6 items. Teddy's hit that is insanely powerful.
As you can see, flashes after Khan there as well. Prey, he's taking damage, but Jin Air don't have vision. Don't get around the corner.
He's going to sell his boots soon, and then we know about the fountain laser.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like King Zone wanted to see it up close. They wanted to understand the power of the fountain laser. They're inviting something that we know can be very deadly.
Well, inviting Teddy is a very scary prospect as he just walks underneath the turret and smacks Prey in the face. Khan looking for a Gnar opportunity as Grace just pops Prey. Yeah. See you later, buddy. 1 auto attack from Teddy and a
Jin Air could win this game.
I flat out didn't even see that. I was waiting for Khan to come in and Mega Gnar someone.
Jin Air could win this game.
Maybe even soon.
There's 50 seconds on Prey. It probably won't be now.
Oh god, BDD, too much damage.
This is the siege. We finally saw it. It took 40 minutes, but the rumors were true.
They did make a siege comp. It's the post 45-minute siege comp.
They can just win the game here.
Well, they're just going to keep walking up. Can anyone actually stop Teddy from auto-attacking structures? BDD gets his health back. Prey, 29 seconds. The second Nexus turret is going down. Is it going to be Jin Air that break the win streak with a 4-kill game at 46 minutes? The Ornn ultimate comes down. King Zone so extraordinarily low. The Nexus is now exposed. The Jin Air GreenWings, could they do it? The Gnar backwards. UmTi's just trying to create space to get the auto attacks in there, but no, it's a triple kill coming in. Can they get the autos though? Lick it to death, Wraith. Lick it to death. No, they're not going to be able to do it. It's a quadra kill for BDD, and they hold on to their Nexus.
What is happening on this opposite day? Do they just lose now?
Yes, I think they do. We've got the teleport to come in from Khan. I think maybe we're going to have some troll inhibitors, but they should have time to take down all of these structures. There was nothing that happened at all, Papa Smithy, and now all of it happens at the end of the game.
Just complete pandemonium here. The crowd is gasping, trying to follow what's happening.
Yeah.
It's so damn far for them to walk. Switch to Ghost, guys. Get there faster.
Yeah, and I'm like, I haven't been doing anything all game, so I'm getting so extraordinarily excited. Good God, Peanut and Khan, they should be able to do it. In comes Prey with all of that extra damage, and King Zone, the closest they've come to losing since that KSV series at the very start of the season, but it still doesn't happen. Look at PDD, grinning ear to ear.
They're grinning, but I'm sure that's hiding stress and just a
yeah.
complete bewilderment that the game they had in their hands went so long that 6-item Caitlyn showed up, and we thought they might have lost their first game in 13. Instead, they go 13-0. What was the most weird pastiche of crazy, incredibly stupid game played here, where no one really had any incentive to make it faster. Kingzone could have played this very different. They chose to be restrained at every opportunity after showing the killer edge at every opportunity previous to today. They may have won the game, but I imagine both teams come away unsure of what happened in 45 minutes of League of Legends.
Oh, it was so extraordinarily close. If Teddy had one extra auto attack on that Nexus, it would have been a different story. BDD saving his team with all of his massive amounts of damage, that quadra kill towards the end. Kingzone can't be breathing easy. Those grins that we're talking about certainly had some anxiety in them. Let's have a look at this heroic defense once again. And
of course,
watch for Teddy and his positioning when they managed to actually finally take him down.
And when you slow it down, there's always going to be someone who could have acted differently in these crazy scenarios. So we're watching here, specifically Teddy, scooped in, UmTi dies. Teddy also completely gets locked up. His flash was down. At the moment that the ult came through from Khan, he couldn't free auto. If he wasn't caught in that ult, in a different world, he would have got 2 or 3 autos extra, and that would have been enough to decide the game. The Nexus falls. We're watching the health in the bottom left corner to 237 at its lowest, and then, of course, the death time is so long, 2 inhibitors already down. That was just game 1 of the night. We should have plenty more League of Legends. Kingzone will play very different in game 2. That's my only bet.
Yes, I have a feeling that that is going to be exactly the case, Papa Smithy, because this is a team that has been playing extraordinarily fast, and they tested Jin Air. They said, all right, we'll play your game for game 1, and it was way, way too close.
I know it sounds weird, but now I'm most excited for the interview if Kingzone and if Jin Air went to make sense of what we saw.
Well, not sure whether it is going to be a good story from the players here, but still grins on the sign on BDD's face. And Kingzone finally looking fellable. It took Jin Air to make...
It always takes Jin Air, Atlas. Every record, every
fellable.
story involves Jin Air and a glad plane or a sad plane, respectively.
Yeah, but such a weird game. Just incredible. Guys, game 2 is going to be coming up very, very shortly.
It could be anything.
It could. It could be the fastest game we've ever seen. We could challenge that game. We may not
Maybe we
have
start
any
removing
kills at
roles.
all.
Who needs a jungler? Maybe 5 people in lanes.
Yeah, well, I actually really like the passivity as well. Go and tell your little sister that she can now come and watch because there's not going to be any death.
Blood.
No killing. Yep. So all of those people that you know that just really don't like these violent video games, that wasn't a violent video game. Well, it was against minions. Jeez, those minions took a pounding. But whew. Okay, let's go. Short break, and then game number 2 right after.
King